Hello, 6th graders. Welcome to Big Ideas Math, 7th grade math, section 1.1, Integers and Absolute Value lesson. Pause while you write section 1.1 lesson in your math notebook. Pause again while you write today's lesson objective in your math notebook. Today's lesson objective is to find the absolute value of an integer. Today we'll be starting on page 4 in your math textbook. Be sure you pause and take notes whenever you need to write down anything important. At the top of the page, it has our key vocabulary, which is the vocabulary that you wrote down yesterday during your activity. And it gives some examples of integers at the top, and then it tells us again what the absolute value is. So as a reminder, the absolute value of an integer is the distance between the number and 0 on a number line. The absolute value of a number, a, is written as absolute value of a. So remember yesterday when you wrote this in your notes, you wrote the absolute value sign as those really straight bars with a number in it, and this time we're just going to use the variable a. So since the absolute value is a distance, it has to always be positive. So absolute value is always a positive number because a distance is always positive. You can't walk a negative distance to school or fly a negative distance to grandma's house. Distances are always positive. So keep that in mind, that absolute value is always positive. You might want to take a minute and write that in your notes. And there's an example of how it looks on a number line here for you. And let's move on to example 1, finding the absolute value. Find the absolute value of 2. So since we're finding the absolute value of 2, we can start by graphing 2 on the number line. And so we would draw our number line, put a dot where the 2 is, and then map out the distance between 2 and 0, and notice that that distance is 2. So our absolute value of 2 equals 2. Let's look at example 2. You're still on page 4, and we're going to find the absolute value of -3. So if we're at -3 on our number line, we count how many units it is back to the 0, and it takes us 3 jumps or 3 units. The distance between -3 and 0 is 3. So our absolute value of -3 is 3. So now it says to compare 1 and the absolute value of -4. So we're going to graph 1 on a number line. So they graphed that for us right here. And graph the absolute value of -4 on a number line. So we know that the absolute value of -4 equals 4. So instead of putting this at -4, we are going to put our dot for the absolute value of -4 at the 4. So then we just compare these, and we know that when we're comparing values, the value to the right on the number line is the greater value, or the value to the left on the number line is the value that's the least. So 1 is to the left of the absolute value of -4, which is 4. So 1 is less than the absolute value of -4. Now on page 5, we're taking a look at our real-life application. The freezing point is the temperature at which a liquid becomes a solid. Letter A asks which substance in the table has the lowest freezing point. So we're looking for the lowest freezing point. Is the freezing point of mercury or butter closer to the freezing point of water, which is 0 degrees? So let's follow their lead here. For letter A, it says graph each freezing point. So airplane fuel is negative 53 degrees. Mercury is negative 39 degrees. Honey is negative 3 degrees. And butter is positive 35 degrees. And candle wax is positive 55 degrees. And here's water right here in the middle, which is 0 degrees. Remember, these are all in Celsius. So airplane fuel has the lowest freezing point because it is the farthest to the left. So that answered question A. The freezing point of water is 0 degrees Celsius, so we need to use absolute values to find out the answer to letter B, which is closer to the freezing point of water. So we're looking at which one is closer to 0, not worrying about which one is negative or which one is positive. So we look at their absolute values. The absolute value of mercury's freezing point is 39. So the distance from 0 is 39. And the absolute value of butter's freezing point is 35. So the distance from 0 is 35. Because 35 is less than 39, the freezing point of butter is closer to the freezing point of water. Your assignment for this lesson is to complete on your own problems on pages 4 to 5 of your math textbook. They are also shown below. And remember, you can also access your math textbook online. Show your work in your notebook and submit your answers in Google Classroom. For number 9, you're probably going to need to look back at example 4 on page 5 of your lesson. Please remember to earn credit for viewing this flipped lesson. You need to complete your exit slip back at the website. You also need to come to our next class prepared with the journal pages that we did during the flipped lesson or any other work that we did for the flipped lesson completed. You also need to be prepared with any work that was assigned in the flipped lesson completed, and be ready with any questions you have for your teacher, and as always, have a good attitude. We'll see you tomorrow in class. Remember, to earn credit for viewing this flipped lesson, you must complete your exit slip. You must come to our next class prepared with your journal pages or any other work that we did during the flipped lesson completed, and you need to be prepared with any work that was assigned during the flipped lesson completed. Be prepared with any questions you have about the content of the flipped lesson and a good attitude. We'll see you in class tomorrow.